Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and in today's video we are going to be going over the top 25 most underrated JDM cars in your boy Mark Roden's opinion. I've done obviously a couple of underrated JDM cars videos. I've done forgotten JDM cars, I've done overhated JDM cars. I've done all kinds of different videos obviously on JDM cars because I like JDM cars. I know the most about JDM cars and I like talking about them, gosh darn it. So I'm going to do one today of the top 25 most underrated JDM cars in your boy's opinion. Song of the day is called Just Kidding. Oh, what's that? You thought I was going to give you a song of the day? No, we're changing it up today, baby. We're going to go with a movie of the day. That's right, I'm big into movies. I love movies. They're like my dude. I will watch like a movie every other night. I love them that much. They're just freaking great. Movie of the day, Django Unchained by Quentin Tarantino. Absolute banger, dude. Django Unchained is like, I was gonna say it's like top 5, but I don't think it's that good. I think it's top 10 probably. Top 10 Mark Roden movies out here, baby. I love Django Unchained. It is a freaking masterpiece in every single way. It's got some like got some harsh subject matters in there, obviously. So if you're a younger lad, maybe don't watch it. But goodness gracious, man, it is a good movie. Without further ado, let's get right into it though with number 25. And that is going to be going to the Mazda Unos Cosmo. Obviously, we're going to be doing this list in the sense of like 25 is the one I think is the most well-known, and then first place is the one I think is the most underrated, and 25th place being the Mazda Unos Cosmo might shock some people because back in the day, these cars used to be like the #1 most underrated JDM car. Like, this was like the car where it's like, if you knew what the Unos Cosmo was, you were a true JDM fan at that point. But I think at this point, this car's kind of been played out a little bit. I think people are starting to talk about it more and more, and are starting to forget the reasons why it was never loved in the first place, and just think that the car is just perfect in every single way. The car had a great motor, and that's pretty much the reason that's pretty much where all the good parts of it stop. And so I feel like people are just kind of glazing it just for that motor, and I don't think it deserves all that. But it is still a little underrated, and that's the reason why it's on my list. I still think people, should talk about it a little bit more, but not as much as they're starting to. Coming in at 24th place, this one's just underrated, but it's well known at this point, and so that's again the reason why it's not going to be higher on my list, because 24th place is going to be going to the Toyota Celica GT4 6th generation. For those who don't know, the GT4 Celicas are all-wheel drive rally monsters. It started with the 4th generation of the Celica. They made the GT4 trim for that one, and then they did it with the 5th and the 6th gen as well. And the 6th gen is, in my opinion, the best. Well, it is just the best. It's obviously the most well-rounded. They roughened out all the edges on there, or smoothed out all the edges, I guess you could say. I don't know what the saying is, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. It's the best of the 3 GT4s. It's a freaking great car, but again, people are starting to talk about these now. People are starting to understand that they're freaking awesome. And coming in at 23rd place is a car that we all know, but we all know for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. The Mazda RX-8. Everybody knows about the Mazda RX-8 because of its unreliability, and that's it. That's what everybody stops, and everybody thinks it's like a trash car because it's unreliable. And then those same people will turn around and start glazing the FD RX-7, the FC RX-7, and it's like, dude, they're just as unreliable, if not more unreliable than an RX-8. And yes, those ones had turbo models, whereas the RX-8 didn't, so I get it, that part of it, but the vast majority of FD and FC RX-7s you see are not the turbo models, or the naturally aspirated ones. So at that point, why not get the RX-8? It is a little bit heavier, sure, but it's also a little bit more reliable than those two. I think people hate it just because they feel like they have to like fit in this, so they like everybody else hates the RX-8, and so they feel like they have to, when it really doesn't make much sense anymore. Coming in at 22nd place, this one is just underrated because I feel like nobody knows it exists, because it's going to be going to the Nissan Silady. The Nissan Silady, for those who don't know, is the best of both worlds, literally, for the S13 Nissan S chassis. What that means is most people would agree that the rear ends of the hatchback S13s are better than the rear ends of the coupe S13s. However, they would agree the front end of the coupe is better than the front end of the hatchbacks. Well, this is a combination of the two. It has the front end of the coupe and the rear end of the hatchback. It is a perfect combo. There was only a couple of them ever made. However, there are some like Frankenstein S13s out there to look like Siladys, obviously, and they are perfect. I'm not a big S chassis guy, but if I were to get one, this would be like easily my #1. Like easily, it's a perfect spec. Coming in at 21st place, however, barely missing out on the top 20 here, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be going to the Mitsubishi Starion. The Mitsubishi Starion, or Chrysler Conquest, I think is the other. It's pretty much the same thing. Why did they do that, by the way? Does anybody know the history behind why Mitsubishi and Chrysler like paired up in the 90s, because they did that with so many cars. It was weird. But either way, the Mitsubishi Starion, yeah, it's a really cool little sports car by Mitsubishi. It's just another underrated Mitsubishi. There's quite a bit of them, obviously. People talk about the Evos, and the Evos are good, but there are so many other Mitsubishis that were really cool during the 90s, and this is one of them. They're rear-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive, which is a little bit weird. But they're turbocharged cars, and they got a manual transmission, and they look absolutely ridiculously 80s, and I don't really get why people don't like these things, man. Breaking its way into the top 20, however, is going to be going to the Acura Legend. The Acura Legend is cool for one reason and one reason only. It is the first ever Acura to ever be built, which is really, in my opinion, really cool. On top of that, I believe, now I could be wrong on this, but I believe this was never made as a Honda, so it is a true and true Acura. Like a lot of those Infinitis, Lexuses, and Acuras are just pretty much rebadged versions of other Japanese models, whereas the Acura Legend is not, which is pretty sick. Also, the car itself is also just pretty nice. It has a V6, which is rare for Hondas, obviously, and it's reliable. It's got good power. They look nice. They're comfortable. They're luxurious. It's a good car. It's a great start for Acura, and if it wasn't for this car, I don't think Acura would be at where it's at today. Coming in at 19th place, you guys might think I was going to do the Mark III today, but I do think the Mark III is starting to get pretty popular, which it deserves. So, you know, no hate there, but I do think it's starting to get popular. 19th place is the Toyota Supra Mark II, though. Yeah, the Mark II, technically at this point, they were still called the Celica Supra, so it was just like a trim level of the Toyota Celica. But either way, the Mark II Celicas, Supras, or whatever you want to call them, I thought was a nice car. Now, in terms of performance, it's obviously not that great. It's a 70s. I think they trickled into the 80s, but not for too long. Naturally aspirated inline six by Toyota. They're nothing really special, but looks wise, they're a retro JDM boxy beast, just like the Starion. Coming in at 18th place is like completely different from the Mark II Supra in every single way. It's like the complete opposite car. It's going to the Nissan Gloria Y33. The Y33, the Glorias in general are what we know in America as the Infiniti M line cars, so the M45s and stuff like that, I believe. In general are already not really talked about that much. And then the Y33, which is definitely the most popular generation of the Gloria, is still not that talked about. And these are like direct competitors, so like Mercedes S-Class level cars for significantly cheaper while being more reliable. Yeah, I know you're like, Nissan reliable, what? It's 90s, okay? It's not nowadays, so it actually was reliable back then. It's cool if you want something that's like rear-wheel drive, JDM, but also has a tons of space. It's like the Nissan version of like the Chaser. And coming in at 17th place, I made a whole deep dive on these cars, and they're still, in my opinion, underrated. Even though it's one of my most viewed videos of all time, like that video got some reach for sure. People started talking about these cars for sure due to my video, which makes me feel cool, by the way. But I still think they're underrated, because 17th is going to the Honda Prelude 3rd generation. The 3rd gen Prelude, while it's not like breaking any records top speed wise or anything like that, performance wasn't anything crazy. Just what the car did was crazy. Active aero and 4-wheel steering being the two main things that this car did are obviously super awesome, but it also introduced things like the SI trim for Honda, which is obviously iconic nowadays in the sports car world. The 3rd gen Prelude was an extremely revolutionary car in not only Honda's lineup of cars, but in just the car world in general. It was super sick to see back then. It had pop-up headlights, man. Coming in at 16th place, however, this one is definitely not as influential. It's a very controversial car in terms of its looks, because I'm going with the Mitsubishi FTO. I remember the only reason why I even know this car exists is due to Gran Turismo 4. I remember I was a kid and it was in Gran Turismo 4, and I thought it was sick back then because I liked those like over-the-top cars. And that's what this is. If you like the over-the-top crazy looking style cars, you'll probably like the FTO quite a bit. This thing looks really weird, really wacky, especially the rear. That's the one thing I love the front end on the FTOs, but I hate the rear ends. I really wish the rear ends were a little bit different, but they are really cool freaking cars, man. And they're little tiny Mitsubishi sports cars from the 90s yet again that nobody talks about. Coming in at 15th place, here she is. Everybody kind of just talks about this one. The first car people talk about in the JDM car world when they talk about underrated cars is this one, I feel like. The Subaru SVX. Yeah, it's still underrated. It's still pretty underrated. But I don't know if I would... Okay, this one's weird. I don't think it's underrated. I just think it's kind of forgotten. You know what I mean? Because I kind of understand where the complaints are coming from with the SVX. The SVX was not that great of a car. It didn't really do that much in terms of performance, and it was very unreliable, especially for a Subaru, which at the time was actually not doing too bad in terms of reliability. The SVX was just... Oh man, it was supposed to be like this really cool, crazy sports car, and then it just kind of fell flat in its face. But it is wacky looking, and if you don't mind the performance drop-off that you're paying for, an SVX is a sick car. Coming in at 14th place is a car that's only underrated in America. In every other country, though, you guys are probably scratching your heads right now, like, how is this on his underrated cars list? Because 14th is going to the Nissan Safiro A31. Yeah, in America, we don't talk about these things. They came with SR20s, man. All right, and now the SR20 I do think is a slightly overrated motor, if I'm being honest. I think people just like it because it was put in the S chassis, and people love the S chassis, so they like any motor put in that. There are people that defend the KA. The KA sucks, all right? I'm just going to break the news to you. It sucks. That motor is horrible, and people defend it anyways. And so I think they just defend the SR because it was in the S chassis. But this car did come with an SR, and they are, at the end of the day, still better motors than something like a KA. And it's a rear-wheel drive little sedan by Nissan from the 90s that you can buy imported in America for like less than $10,000, which is very hard to do even if it wasn't like a desirable car. And this is a desirable car, and you can find it for less than 10K. The A31 Safiro is really cool. Also, fun, weird fact, guys, this is literally so random. I had a dream last night that I was at like a water park and flew off a slide and like landed on my back and like broke my back. And when I woke up today, my back was extremely sore. It was the weirdest thing. I was like, what? Why? Like, my back's been sore all day today. Does anybody know why that would happen? But yeah, the reason why, I forgot to say this earlier, but the reason why the A31 Safiro I said is not underrated in other countries is because I heard in pretty much every other country, cars like the Safiro is very similar to like what we have, like the I don't know what's a good car to compare it to, like a Civic. You know, they're not that rare. They're very common to modify, and they always modify them. 13th place is going to the Nissan 300ZX Z31. It's pretty much just a uglier version of the Z32, and people almost always regard this Z32 as like the best Z car generation, and I do agree with that. I think the Z32 is definitely the best because it did, at the end of the day, did improve on the Z31 platform. But this car is just a uglier version of that. Like, that's all it is, and people don't talk about this at all, and then they talk all they do is hype up the Z32. It makes no sense, really. Coming in at 12th place, though, this one's kind of a little bit of a cheat code, but I don't really give two tiny rats rectums, ladies and gentlemen. Coming in at 12th place is going to be going to the Subaru Legacy GT. All generations of the Subaru Legacy GT, all right? This thing is, every single one of them, every single generation of the Legacy GT, I think, is underrated. You've heard me say it before whenever I talk about Legacy GTs in my videos, but I think that they're pretty much like pocket WRXs, and obviously WRXs are extremely popular cars in the JDM world, and I don't really understand why people just like kind of completely forget about the Legacy GTs. Now, would I personally own a Legacy GT? Probably not. I don't think they look that cool, and maybe that's the reason why people don't talk about them too much. But in terms of performance, they're a really good bargain deal. And coming in at the number 11 spot, barely missing out on the wonderful top 10 here, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be going to the Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution. Not an SUV guy. You guys know that. Obviously, I've never been an SUV guy, but this is something completely different. It might as well not even be an SUV. It is literally an Evo in a, I guess you could say, SUV package, but it's more like a crossover SUV. Like, it's a two-door. Like, that's not an SUV in my opinion at all, and it was absolutely insane. I mean, at this point, if you don't know about the Pajero Evo, you're chalked. I mean, get him out of here. However, breaking its way into the top 10 is a car that I've talked about quite a bit on my channel because I like them that much, but I still feel like people don't talk about them enough. The Mazda MX-6. Listen, I understand that the platform on the MX-6 is pretty bad. I think these cars make like 160 horsepower, and they come with a V6 that can't make any power after that either. But there are so many people that buy cars nowadays, man, that they do not care at all about the power behind it. They just buy it because it looks good. And the MX-6 looks freaking awesome. All right, let's just get that out there. The MX-6 is a gorgeous looking car. I do wish, just as much as all you guys wish, that this car was rear-wheel drive as well, because it is front-wheel drive, unfortunately. But it's still a pretty cool looking car, I think. Coming in at 9th place. Ninth Bleak is a car I wish I had, man. Every time I see one online or just even hear somebody talk about it in person or whatever, I'm always like, God dang, I want one of those cars. The Nissan Laurel C33. Another car that I believe came with an SR, but I actually, no, I don't think that's true. I think it came with an RB, but it wasn't like the RB26 Det. It was like something else, RB25DE or something like that. But either way, the motor is pretty good, is what I'm trying to say. Whatever motor it came with is pretty decent. It's a rear-wheel drive sedan. It's like, remember how earlier we were talking about how the Safiro is kind of like the Nissan version, or the Gloria, I think it was, but it's like the Nissan version of the Chaser. This is even closer to the Nissan version of the Chaser. And the Chaser obviously is extremely popular, and the Laurel, I feel like, is just kind of forgotten about. Coming in at 8th place, very similar to the Subaru Legacy here, actually pretty much its direct competitor. 8th place is going to be going to the Mitsubishi Galant VR4. This car, man, is what started, just like how the Legacy started Subaru's line in the rally racing community, the Galant did the same for Mitsubishi. This thing, oh my god, man. I freaking love the VR4 Galant so much. All-wheel drive. I don't even feel like I have to say it, but I'll say it now, I guess. We already know that the VR4 motors from Mitsubishi are like some of the best, well, not even some of, like the best motors that Mitsubishi ever made, besides like the 4G63. Like the VR4 motors were just absolutely incredible. And they were in an all-wheel drive, lightweight sedan package that was great at off-roading as well. What more could you ask for? And they looked sick. Like the Galants are freaking awesome, and no one cares. However, coming in at 7th place, this one just absolutely blows me away, how nobody even talks about them. 7th place is going to be going to the Toyota MRS, or the MR2 Spider. I don't know what you technically are supposed to call it. The newest generation, the last generation of the Toyota MR2 family, this one. Okay, the AW11, it makes sense why nobody really talks about the AW11. That car was, realistically speaking, even though it looked cool, was realistically speaking not much. The SW20 was just better than it in every single way, and the SW20 is properly rated. Everybody loves the SW20. But then the MRS came out, and yes, it looked a little girly, and people didn't really care for its looks. I think that's the main reason why nobody talks about it. But in terms of performance, it was just better than the SW20 in every way. No one cared. It blows me away. Coming in at 6th place, however, is kind of like the opposite. It's the worst in terms of performance for the entire line. And so that's probably the reason why people don't talk about it, but I like it. 6th place is the Mazda RX-7 FB, or the SAs, the first generation of the RX-7. The FC and the FD, we already talked about earlier with the RX-8. I think they're extremely popular, obviously. The FD RX-7 is my favorite car of all time, period. And it's one of the, like, 4 henchmen of the JDM family. You know, you got the R34 GTR, Mark IV Supra, NSX, and the FD RX-7. Those are, like, the top 4 big dogs in the JDM world. And then the FC is also extremely popular, but the FB doesn't really get any love, I feel like. And it makes a little bit of sense. I mean, these cars have 100 horsepower, man. They got a 1.1 liter rotary motor. Like, this thing, there's not really anything super special, but it has a pretty decent sized engine bay. You can easily swap this thing with a K series, and when you do, you got one of, like, the lightest freaking JDM cars of all time. These cars are so lightweight, and it's awesome. Coming in at 5th place, it's unfortunate that this car's little brother was just such a freaking beast, because it means that nobody cares about this one anymore. 5th place is the Nissan Skyline R31, and that's literally its only problem. That's the only reason why people don't talk about the R31s, or even the R30s, or before that, honestly. It's just because the R32 came out and became Godzilla and became, like, probably the most influential, impactful JDM car of all time, period. And so when that came out, the R31 was just, like, completely forgotten. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. The R32 is the better car in every single way possible. Every way. There's not anything that the R31 does better than the R32. But I still freaking love the R31, and it's still a cool freaking JDM car. Just because it doesn't live up to the hype of the R32 doesn't mean it's not worthy of any hype whatsoever. And coming in at 4th place, this is like a guilty pleasure car of mine, man. Every time I see one on Facebook Marketplace, I want to buy it so freaking bad it's unbelievable. I don't even know why. It's just the looks. I just think they look cool. The Toyota Mark II JZX100. I understand that the Chaser JZX100 is probably the better car. I get that, but I don't care. I'd rather have the Mark II JZX100. I just think these things look freaking awesome. I love them so much. They're pretty much the exact same thing as the Chaser, realistically speaking. The Mark IIs and the Chasers are very similar. It had a 1JZ GTE. That's just absolutely incredible, by the way. It's rear-wheel drive. It's got 4 doors. It's literally a Chaser, but in a Mark II chassis, and everybody loves the Chaser, and nobody even talks about the Mark II. Coming in at 3rd place is a big difference from the ones that we just talked about. Like, the Mark II JZX100 had an incredible platform, and it makes sense why, like, it should be popular, and it just isn't for some reason. But 3rd place, I have to explain myself, I feel like, because it's the Mitsubishi Eclipse GT 4th generation, or the 4G. I understand where people are coming from in their hatred towards the 3G and 4G Eclipses. I get it. They did not come with the 4G63 like the 2G did, and people don't like that. Okay, they're not good for tuning. Let's just leave it at that. And they're right. They're right to have that. They're right to have that disinterest in them, I guess you can say. But the cars stock come with around 260 something horsepower, and they're front wheel drive, and so maybe that's another reason. Maybe they like the all wheel drive, but they also look pretty decent, in my opinion. I think the 4G and the 3G Eclipses both look really nice, actually. And if you're not really looking for insane power, then a 4G Eclipse or a 3G Eclipse are actually pretty decent options, and I'm surprised no one really cares. Coming in at 2nd place, and real quick, I just wanted to mention with the 4G Eclipse again, I understand if you are the type of guy that's like just wants to build up a project car to have insane power, then obviously that makes sense why you wouldn't look at a 4G or a 3G Eclipse. I get that part. I'm talking about the guys that don't do that. Let's be honest, man. It's 2025. There are a lot of people out there that buy cars because they think they look cool. They just want to make them look nice and have a nice looking sports car that they can daily drive or whatever. And for those people, I don't understand why they hate on the 4G and 3Gs. Either way, 2nd place is going to be going to the Mazda Miata NC. Very similar to the 4G Eclipse, actually, in the sense cars where, yeah, I understand that the NB and the NA Miatas are just better cars than the NC. I get that, but they're better by only a very like pubic hair of a fraction, if you will, because the NC Miata is still a Miata at the end of the day. Yes, it's heavier than the other two, but it's still going to be a fun little go-kart to race around in. And yes, I understand, again, the main reason why people don't like this is the looks, just like the 4G Eclipse we just talked about, but it's still a freaking nice car. But coming in at first place, and in my opinion, the most underrated JDM car in 2025 right now, is going to be going to the Toyota Soarer Z20. Real quick before we talk about the Z20 Soarer, I wanted to mention one more car. I just thought of it now, so I don't have it as an honorable mention, but think of it now, I guess, as an honorable mention. The Mazda Speed 6. The Mazda Speed 6 is just a better version of the Mazda Speed 3, and people already don't talk about the Mazda Speed 3s that much. The Mazda Speed 6 is freaking underrated. Okay, I just want to put it out there. It's an honorable mention for today's video, even though it doesn't actually have an honorable mention spot. But yeah, the Z20 Soarer, I love it. This was like Toyota's Halo car, and it put so much freaking technology on it. These cars are like the 80s or 90s, yeah, it was made in the 80s equivalent of like the LC500 Lexus today, and no one gives a tiny rat's rectum. And they look absolutely freaking insane. The Z20, I've always been an SC300 guy. I love the SC chassis. I don't like the SC430, but I like the SC cars. And this is pretty much just the older brother of the SC300, and it looks like that. It's freaking cool. I love it so much. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of the top 25 most underrated JDM cars in 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what other videos that you see in the comment section down below. Check the links in the description for any of my other social medias or any of my other YouTube channels or any of that great stuff. I will be leaving a comment below with my new YouTube channel. It's called Giggity Plays, and it's just going to be a channel where I upload random videos. It is going to have no theme whatsoever. It's going to have no schedule whatsoever. Just a channel of the most random, benign stuff out there. And if you're interested in just watching me ramble about random things, no script, no real interesting background footage, really, it'll probably just be me playing video games, then that's where I'm gonna upload it at. I always did YouTube as a way to like just start rambling because nobody else wants to listen to my rambling, and so I always just kind of did that when I started YouTube, to just talk about cars I wanted to talk about. And now on this channel I have to take it more seriously, obviously, because it's like my job, and so I wanted to do that again, but I didn't want to do it on this channel, so I made a whole new channel for that. So if you're interested in that, that's where it's going to be. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.